When is it going to get colder? That's the question which I found out last night on Twitter. No, I refuse to use Elon Musk's idiotic name X. It's Twitter to me, baby. I found out when I posted something last night that people are waiting for the other shoe to drop, especially here in Western New York near Buffalo. Uh, we currently have a temperature anomaly for the month of December of a whopping 7.9 degrees above the average mean temperature for December. That's a biggie. But of even greater significance for lake effect snow potential is the excess heat, which is still stored in Lake Erie waters. That's where most of Buffalo's lake effect snow comes from. The lake temperature averages 36 at this time of the year, with records going back to 1928. It's at 44. That is a record warm temperature for this late in the year. And so as soon as I posted that, oh boy, the concluders came out of the woodwork saying essentially, that's it. We are doomed if they hated snow, or, oh, that's it. It's coming if they love snow. There is kind of a split in the populace about views toward snow, although I think the love of snow faded somewhat after what occurred here late last December on the Christmas weekend. You can get lake effect snow with average cold temperatures if the winds align properly. And it can be significant if the winds line up in the same direction, essentially, from the surface up to about 10,000 feet. That can get a band better organized, and with temperatures below freezing by a fair margin, that temperature drop off rate of 13 degrees Celsius from the surface of the lake up to about a mile up will do it. But we're not even seeing signs of the proper wind alignment in the week coming up. It will be cold enough, even this weekend, for lake effect snow to develop if the winds were aligned and we had enough humidity in the air. We're going to get some light snow showers. Elsewhere, El Nino is doing its thing. It is a strong El Nino. It has some chance of becoming one of the 5 historically strong El Ninos and will maintain full strength in all the models through at least the end of February. So that's one more negative aspect to getting any real cold that can be overcome by a disruption in the polar vortex for at least a short episode. But in all, high confidence is maintained that when all is said and done, this will be a milder than average winter when we get to the end of March across the northern tier of the United States, not the southern United States, where folks living in the south will have above average precipitation and cooler than average temperatures are likely in southern latitudes, and maybe more severe weather than usual, especially as you get into late winter. But in the meantime, something called a sudden stratospheric warming, which was bandied about in the meteorological community and amongst weather geeks earlier in December, was looking to be the thing as we move toward the end of December and into January. What is the thing, the SSW? Well, it's an unusual warming way up in the stratosphere at high latitudes. If it develops and it is a high amplitude warming, it can disrupt the polar vortex. It can cause it to weaken. A strong polar vortex tends to keep the polar air trapped in the polar regions. But when it starts to sag because it's gotten weaker, the polar jet stream out ahead of it also sags to the south. And that's what can deliver the brutal weather we had here in Western New York late last December, Christmas weekend. February 2021, the deadly freeze in Texas for that month, which killed over 100 people. The power grid there, with its very odd engineering, failed the public. That was related to a polar vortex disruption as well. There are still some signs that as we get to later January, we could see something more of an SSW setting up. But because of the nature of SSWs and polar vortex disruptions, they cannot be seen in any real detail more than 2 weeks in advance, if that much in advance. So I can't tell you on December 29th that we're going to have a major SSW to disrupt the polar vortex sometime after January 20th. It may happen, but there's no way to determine that right now. So for this next week, much of the east will be turning cooler to seasonably cold, but not brutally cold. And if we were to have had the right here in Western New York, the right west southwest or southwest flow, there could be meaningful lake effect snow, except none of the models that go out a week are showing that kind of wind alignment setting up. Now, when I start to see signs, and if I start to see signs of a significant pattern change or real disruption, I'll let you know. I mean, I'm semi-retired. Where am I going? So I do keep an eye on things for you. I hope you've been enjoying this podcast. And if you are, I hope you will share and follow so its growth can continue to move along, getting some growth. And if I don't talk to you between now and the first, I probably will. Please have a happy new year, and thanks for listening this far.